Hey guys, it's Kay from KS Anonymous, and I am back today with another episode of r/Entitled People. I suck at spelling, so sorry. Okay, let me start off by saying I am partially deaf. So because of that, I wear hearing aids. Without them, I can't really hear much at all and can't even hear behind me whatsoever. I've been partially deaf most of my life, but recently it's gotten worse. I'm 21 and I have only had my hearing aids for about a year now. Now, I work at a very well-known fast food place. I occasionally will work in drive-thru, and I will have my hearing aids in at all times except if I'm on my break. Now, I've had short hair most of my life until about now. I've been growing it out because I've been very self-conscious with my hearing aids. This one particular day, my hair was put up in a small ponytail and shoved in my hat. I really didn't think much of it because most of my coworkers know I have hearing aids in. It's not that big of a deal to them. I guess my hearing aid that was showing towards the window was kind of hanging out. Now, at this point, I'm so used to them that I really don't notice when they're in. So this is where everything went downhill. This lady came up. She looked like a full-on Karen, but her hair was green, like very, very green. I don't know why. I opened my window and I told her her total. This was our conversation. "Hello, ma'am. Your total is going to be random numbers." Karen starts to hand me her card. "Are you wearing earbuds?" She looked appalled and horrified. I started to try to explain myself, but she got loud. I'm still trying to get used to a lot of noises, so when she starts yelling, I start to flinch. "I want to speak to your manager right now." "Ma'am, they're not earbuds, they're hearing aids." I'm annoyed at this point. Like I said before, I'm very self-conscious about my hearing aids. She's not having any of it, and she's getting louder. I close my window and call for one of my managers. Now, let me tell you, my managers will not take BS from anyone. You start to scream at any of us, and you will be kicked off the property fairly quickly. So this manager walks up, and he is my favorite manager, so we're going to call him Awesome Manager at this point. "Yes, what's up?" "This lady is complaining because she thinks my hearing aids are earbuds." He rolls his eyes and opens the window. This lady goes in a full rant, screaming, yelling, cussing, and everything. After she calms down, my manager calmly looks at me and holds his hand out. I gave him a smile and take my hearing aids out and put them in his hand. In a voice like venom, he responds to this crazy lady. "Ma'am, I don't know what you were on or what's going on, but these," he holds up the hearing aids, "are hearing aids, and my employee is partially deaf. Now, I was going to ask you nicely to please apologize, but instead I'm going to ask you to leave. I really don't like being cussed out at all, and it's very rude to say some of those things. Now you can leave. If you do not leave, we will call the police for harassment." He hands her her card and closes the window, gives me my hearing aids back, and cancels the order. Tells me not to talk to her and wait until she leaves. She's still screaming, but after 5 minutes of screaming, she finally leaves. Honestly, I felt so much better after he did that, but I asked to go on break early and I was allowed to. I'm going to be honest, I've had people mistakenly think they're earbuds before, but this was the worst by far. But I did get a free ice cream out of it all, and an extra 5 minutes added on to my break. If anyone wants to read this on their YouTube channel, go ahead. You have my permission, just leave a link so I can listen. Thanks for reading my crazy Karen story. Have a great day, everyone. Hi, hello, I'm reading your story on YouTube. I will do my best to leave you a link to this. I have a special note about this in particular to go on your post and leave you a link so you can hear this. Anyway, thank you for sharing your story. And I actually work with a girl who is also partially deaf, and she has hearing aids and they're like a red color. So I could imagine some people might think they're earbuds, but like, I don't know, like hearing aids look different. And also, like, even if you did, like, why is it this lady's business? Like, people are really weird. I'm sorry that happened to you, but again, I mean, hey, you got an ice cream. Ice cream's pretty good, I'm just saying. Karen harasses me in my own dang home and makes a fool of herself. So I'm not entirely sure if this belongs here, but it's the best fit I can think of for a place to post this story. It literally just happened, lol. Also, I'm on mobile, so please excuse any formatting errors. I live in a ground floor apartment in the middle of my little town with a small courtyard at the back. There's a lovely set of glass sliding doors that open from the living room into said courtyard, and on the other side of the courtyard fence is a public footpath, with a public car park behind it. It's lunchtime here at the moment, so there's a person walking past every 5 minutes or so. It's also useful to know for context that I'm physically disabled and use a walking stick. My genetic disorder, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, also makes me look significantly younger than I am, so despite being 31 years old, I'm often mistaken for a teenager. Especially by Karens, for whom I seem to be a gosh dang magnet. Anyway, onto the story. So I was sitting on my sofa watching TV and eating my lunch when I spotted one of those little black millipedes on the carpet. We get a lot of them at this time of year, so I used an empty muesli bar box to scoop it up and chuck it over the fence so that it hopefully won't come back into the apartment. No big deal, right? There was this Karen walking along the footpath a fair way down from our fence, and she yelled something like, "I saw what you just did!" I didn't think she was barking at me since I hadn't done anything wrong or unusual, so I went back inside. She then appeared at our back gate, shouting at me for throwing rubbish over the fence and littering. I told her I'd thrown a millipede over the fence that I'd found on the carpet. She accused me of lying and said she'd seen me throw a box. I opened the fly screen and held up the empty muesli bar box and said, "You mean this one?" She froze and stammered a bit before saying, "Well, obviously you threw something else then." Like I was being the idiot here, lol. I said, "Then where is it?" And this bee actually started scouring the flower bed between the footpath and the car park for the imaginary rubbish she was adamant I'd thrown. I guess she found nothing she could reasonably accuse me of having thrown out there, because she came back to the fence and barked, "If I ever catch you littering again, missy, you'll be dealing with the police." So I said, "Sure, I'd love to tell them about you harassing a disabled woman in her own home. We'll see how that goes for you." And she stormed off, LMAO. WTAF. I get dealing with Karens in the wild, but in my own gosh dang home, wish I'd thought to snap a photo of her just in case. Hindsight is 2020. Yeah, I don't understand how, I feel like at that point, a reasonable person, maybe they're very passionate about littering. A reasonable person would have been like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I saw that you used the box and I thought that you had actually thrown the box. I apologize." That's what a reasonable person would do. A more reasonable person probably wouldn't have gotten to converse at all. Why? Why would you go search for something that's not there? Because, you're just digging yourself a deeper hole. Just stop. Very dyslexic, so apologies for the mistakes I will make. So, I'm a manager at a restaurant in the UK. We're a fairly nice restaurant with some more expensive food than your average place. However, to be fair, the food is really good, and it's all farm to table and locally sourced. Because of the higher price, I've had my fair share of entitled people and just general snobs. Now on to the story. Since the virus that shall not be named, we've been working differently than normal. Our staff has been cut in half, and so is the amount of people we can have in the restaurant at once. For safety, we spread the tables out a lot more. Due to this, we just can't handle the same amount of booking that we're used to, so we've gone from averagely busy and a spike on weekends to crap hitting the fans almost every day, even more so since we have half the staff. So I've been left to run our last dinner shift before we go back into lockdown, and because of that fact, we are booked to the max with people wanting a last meal. My crew for that night was Jerry, our fresh-faced 17-year-old whose soul hasn't been crushed by the job, and Daisy. We are at almost peak of capacity and struggling. That's when it happened. Or rather, they happened. I'm just taking this sweet couple's order when I see them stand by the sign waiting to be seated. So while this couple are just having a chat about what they think is tastiest, I turn to the party on the stairs and say I'll be with you in just a moment with my biggest customer service smile. I proceed to answer a question or two the sweet couple has about the menu before they make their decision. This must have only taken at most a minute, maybe a minute and a half. After which I head to the stairs and this conversation happens. Hi, how can I help you? We've been waiting here for over 5 minutes, the guy on the stairs says to me in an entitled tone. Now, I know how long he's been waiting, but from my experience, if I just go with it and not question it, then I don't have to deal with him as long. I'm sorry about that, sir. I was just taking an order as you arrived. We have a table booked for 4 people. Okay, great. Can I have the name of that table? Why? I'm beginning to give up on humanity. Because I need to confirm it? Well, that's stupid. Why can't you just seat us? I'm sorry, but this is the way we operate, so we don't put someone else on your table. Fine. It's Mr. Entitled A-Hat. Yes, great. If you'd just like to follow me this way. A thing to note is that we have a giant version of our menu near the entrance. This way I can let the guests look at the menu while I ask our waiters and waitresses to make sure their table is all ready. While Daisy goes to check, I take them through our menu and explain it's smaller than normal because of the current state of the world and the less staff, but because there are less, we really hone in on the flavor and try to make the dishes as delicious as possible, and we change our menu daily. There's no lamb or steak. Unfortunately not, sorry, but our 3 main dishes tonight, halibut, pheasant, and venison, are absolutely wonderful. I got to try some earlier and I was in food heaven. I'm a vegetarian. Is there a vegetarian main? We don't really have a veggie main. However, we have 4 different starters that are veggie that can be made bigger, or you can do a tapas type thing and get a range of them. The chefs also have an off-the-menu dish in case we have a vegetarian that isn't fond of what's on our menu, and I can check with them and see what it is for you. That'd be great, thanks. Do they have something off the menu for me because I don't like the menu? Not any of it? I hate fish. Venison is too gamey, and pheasant is just awful. I can check if they have some chicken or something left from lunch. Why can't you just go to the butcher's and get some lamb or steak? Like, it's not that hard, and I'm paying good money for it. He says this condescendingly. I'm just gonna check with the chefs and what they have in the back. Yeah, you go do that. I lead them to their table, then go talk to the kitchen. However, I know exactly where this is going. You see, I've known these guys long enough to know their answer. I explain the story to the chefs. So, what do you guys want to do? Tell them to pee off and find somewhere else. That's the menu, and that's what we have prepped. I'm happy to make her an off-the-menu veggie dish or even the chicken dish from lunch, but you can tell him to go F himself if he thinks we're gonna go get him crap. I thank the kitchen for the almighty input and tell Daisy thank God they are sat in her section and not mine. That's where I thought the story ended, but as it turns out, it wasn't. At the end of the shift, I asked if Daisy and Jerry were okay. Jerry nods naively, like this job will never crush him, and Daisy says yeah, but that table was a nightmare. I had forgotten about the table and asked for her to tell me all the drama. Well, she went to the table and informed them that we had chicken but can't go out and get off the menu items. He then proceeds to throw a wobbly and says he's appalled we won't go on a 5-minute walk to a shop and buy things for his dinner. Daisy, knowing a lost cause when she sees one, decides to go full customer service smile on him while giving it the full sass. I'm so sorry you don't like the menu, but that's what we have. We went off the menu and managed to get a veggie dish and a chicken dish added for you. Well, I don't like chicken or your menu, so what you gonna do? Nothing we can do, I'm afraid. You can either order or feel free to find another restaurant. I'd hurry though, as I know everything is fully booked in the area, and I don't know if you'd get a table, my love. I know people and can get a table wherever I want. Okay, great. Well, have a good night. Daisy proceeds to leave the table to the shock of his wife and 2 other guests. He continues to rant he's a somebody in this town to the others, and that he will have his way. But after 5 minutes of her not acknowledging them, he leaves quite embarrassed, and his wife apologizes to Daisy on the way out. Then came the best part. When telling this story, Jerry goes red like he's seen a ghost. I noticed and asked why he looks uncomfortable. Jerry, being the bright-eyed, hope-filled youth, proceeds to tell me that as they were leaving, he spotted them. He then proceeded to give them a hearty customer service goodbye, shouting, "Thank you for coming! Have a good night!" We burst out laughing at his embarrassment. He sinks a little deeper into his chair. I can see in his eyes that some hope has faded. Poor, naive Jerry. The spirit of customer service is a cold woman, and she always gets you in the end. I've actually done exactly the same thing that Jerry has before, actually. Because we're trained to, as people leave the restaurant, we were trained to say thank you for coming, have an excellent day. And, I've gotten responses before that weren't nice. One person was like, "No, I will not have an excellent day. No one even came to our table for 10 minutes. We're never coming back." And they literally came back like the next week. But it's like, have a good day, goodbye, farewell. Don't come back. It honestly wouldn't hurt my feelings if you didn't, just saying. Anyway, that is going to wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and drop a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Really quickly, I'd like to thank my patrons. Up on the screen, you should see my face palmers and my crazy K's. Thank you all so much for supporting me in the way that you do. If you are interested in becoming a patron, checking out the original posts from today's video, or sending me an email for possible inclusion in a future video, all of that information is in the description box, so be sure to check it out. And I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye! Thank you.